Nick Caserio had plenty to say about Stefon Diggs and the NFL draft. You got to read between the lines and put your Caserio translator on. That's what I'm here for. Plenty to get to, lots to hear from the Texans general manager, an analysis of exactly how busy the phone lines will be on Friday and Saturday for the Texans, and of course, your questions as well. Appreciate you watching live. I am Cody Stoots. Thanks for checking out the channel. If you're watching after the fact, appreciate you as well. Get live in the comment section. Get in the comment section if you're watching this after the fact. Always staying active in the comment section. So much fun stuff to get to here on the program tonight. Appreciate you watching. Super chats, you go to the front of the line. Of course, if you want to get in live, the link is at the top of the chat right there on the YouTube page. Appreciate everybody watching. Let's get into it. Nick Caserio with his pre-draft press conference, and actually a lot of the conversation at the press conference was about some of the moves he's already made. There was a little bit of conversation about the draft. We'll get to that here in a moment, but Stefon Diggs was what I wanted to know about from Nick Caserio. I wanted to know the most about him. How do they feel about him? How do they handle it? How did it come about? I thought he'd give some really impressive nuggets to the conversation with Stefon Diggs and how the Texans ended up with him. Let's start right there. Nick Caserio, what goes into the decision to trade for a player like Stefon Diggs?
I'd say I talked to a lot of different teams at different points of the year. So I think we're always open-minded and just trying to look at opportunities that may or may not exist. I would say that was something like I don't think we were really anticipating. But, I think I had some conversations at different points and ultimately it was able to come to fruition. And we felt that, it made sense for us to pursue. So I'd say we talked to a lot of teams about a lot of different things at different points. Hopefully, Steph can come in here, and Steph's been a productive player. So hopefully he can come in here and help our team in some capacity.
He's damn right he's been a productive player. The thing that jumped off the page to me is it seems like maybe Caserio checked in on Stefon Diggs or at least had a conversation about multiple top-end wide receivers. We know they tried to trade for Keenan Allen, and I think the move for Stefon Diggs was kind of seen as move B. And I was talking about this with Landry Locker on Sports Radio 610 today, and you watch him on YouTube here in the locker room. Maybe it was just a new move A, because I believe Stefon Diggs is as good, maybe better than Keenan Allen. Obviously, the cost for Keenan Allen was a little bit different than what ultimately Stefon Diggs went for. And, well, if you cost more than the other guy in a trade, then you are probably a better player. So having it show up unexpectedly for them and having that opportunity and jumping at it, because I got to imagine there's a lot of teams that would have traded a future second-round pick for Stefon Diggs. It's a good job by the Texans. Have the rapport. Relationships are important in this business, team to team, and the Texans ultimately end up with Stefon Diggs and have a nasty 1, 2, 3 wide receiver room. Maybe they're going to add to it in the draft and make it even more nasty. We'll talk about that here in a little while. A little bit more about Stefon Diggs. As Brandon says, what's the definition of diva is all Nick Caserio wants to know. Well, he was asked about the attitude conversation around Stefon Diggs, the diva label that is on Diggs, and are there any concerns with that? And I loved this response from Nick Caserio.
Number one, I don't even know what that definition means. So if someone can define that for me, again, like we're not worried about, we're worried about what a player does when he walks in our building. So we do our research. We talk to our players. We talk to other players all the time. We talk to our players, as an example, like a lot of the guys are in the draft. And we talk to those players, hey, what are your thoughts about so-and-so? What is your experience with him? So and we do our research, and then ultimately D'Amico and I sit and talk, and if we feel comfortable with the decision, then we go ahead and make the decision. Candidly, I think it's unfair to label anybody until they actually have an opportunity to walk in the building. Again, our environment's different than another environment, so we really don't know what's going on in 31 other buildings.
Let me put the Caserio translator here for you. Those guys screwed it up with Stefon Diggs. It wasn't a fun situation for him. We think it's going to be better here. I think it's important to note he didn't just gloss over the conversation. Yeah, he didn't like the diva label. He didn't like the diva word, but he didn't just gloss over the conversation about Stefon Diggs being unhappy in the middle of success in Buffalo. Like, he didn't guarantee that that's not going to happen. He just said, we're going to judge the guy on how he acts when he gets in our building here, and our situation is different than Buffalo. I read that is our situation's better than Buffalo. And it is a better situation. That's one of the main things about the Stefon Diggs conversation that I felt like has been super important to note. If he didn't like Buffalo, there's a lot of differences to Houston, from just a human being living in the South versus living in Buffalo. You don't have to shovel snow to get to the workout facility, get to the facility every day. Okay? That's one thing. The weather's better. The food's better. Okay? The facilities and the people in the facilities are exciting compared to what he had in Buffalo. Sean McDermott's a fine coach. Sean McDermott also seems like the type of guy that could rub a subset of players the wrong way. D'Amico Ryan seems to be universally loved right now. It's hard not to love D'Amico Ryans. Josh Allen, with the reporting that we've seen out of this Stefon Diggs thing, froze Stefon Diggs out, stopped talking to him at one point. Okay? Petty, childish. That's not the way you should act as a quarterback. You got a problem with a guy, go talk to him. Go figure it out. Okay? That clearly didn't happen. Diggs didn't like that. Ball goes to Gabe Davis. That's stupid in Stefon Diggs' eyes. He's way better than Gabe Davis. Okay? How about you get me open and throw me the ball? Don't throw Gabe Davis the ball. Don't throw Dalton Kincaid the ball. Throw me the ball. Well, when you're in Houston and you've got Nico Collins and you've got Tank Dell and you got Joe Mixon as the running back, okay, the ball's not always going to you, Stefon Diggs. The ball's not always going to you. The situation is vastly different than his Buffalo issues and situation. Is it impossible that Stefon Diggs ends up unhappy in Houston? No, it's very possible. It's something I'm worried about when it comes to the addition of Stefon Diggs. But the opportunity to vastly improve his mood is going to be there, and it should be taken by Stefon Diggs. And it will be easy to see how he fits in a lot better with the Houston Texans than when he fits in with the Buffalo Bills here the past 2 years where he's seemingly been upset. So let's get to some of your comments about Stefon Diggs, Nick Caserio. Then we'll go to the draft with Nick Caserio. And if you have a super chat, you go to the front of the line, like my buddy Derek here. Will Cody be getting a Texans-themed tattoo at the new uniform party on Tuesday? If they have, I will not get a permanent tattoo, so no. If they have if they have that H tattoo, if they have that H logo tattoo, which is a confirmed logo at this point, Cal McNair tweeted out a picture of him with his dog wearing a hat with that H logo. That's a confirmed logo. If they have that as like a stick-on tattoo, I'll wear one on my face for a video next week. How about that, Derek? Your super chat will not go to waste. If they have the temporary tattoos of the new logos, new uniform stuff next week, I'll wear one on my face for a video next week. As hilarious as that'll be. So I appreciate the super chat, Derek. Thank you. If you guys have a super chat, get to the front of the line. Tramp stamp. No tramp stamps for me. No tramp stamps. Little Cody. Yeah, give me a little Texan right here. Instead of a teardrop, I'll just get a little Texan for every playoff game they win under D'Amico. P. Katie. You look, Caserio was, I wouldn't call him grumpy today, but he was, I thought he was kind of zoomed in, zoned in. I think he's ready for this draft. Like he said today, they're winding down draft prep. The draft's next week. They're already looking at the Hall of Fame game, getting ready for that, getting ready for training camp, getting ready for the offseason that continues. I think he's ready to be done with this draft process. I don't know that he's loved this draft that much. And we'll get into some of those comments right now. Hey, Nick Caserio, you got 2 picks in the second round, a pick in the third round, 2 picks in the fourth round, 2 picks in the sixth round, 2 picks in the seventh round. What are you doing? You're moving around. You're staying fluid. You're staying flexible. What's the deal, Nick Caserio?
Ends up being really about positioning and just where do you think you have to move. You're not necessarily making it based on what other teams are doing, but again, you might not be looking at the same players other teams are looking at, but maybe there's a certain position. So, there's a little bit of strategy, maybe some positioning involved. So I think just flexible, adaptable, open-minded. I mean, that's kind of been our thought process and our mindset since we've been here, and, we'll probably continue that moving forward.
Flexible, adaptable, open-minded. He was talking about, sections of players that you want to go up and get, a type of player that you want to go up and get. That to me was what stood out. He's going to move around. He's not making the 9 picks they have as they are. Okay. And here's why we know he's going to move around. He's made 23 selections as the general manager of the Houston Texans. Okay. He's made 23 selections as the general manager of the Houston Texans. I'm going to pull this up from the Texans draft guide here. Texans players acquired in trades. So we start with 2021 when he got here. Again, 23 picks. 18 of them. 18 of the 23 have been picks that he has traded for. 18 of the 23 have been picks that he has traded for. Like, he loves to move around. He loves to have the ability to go get a pick where there's a range of players that he is going to want one of those 2, 3, 4 players. So in addition to that, watch for Friday night, because of those 18 trades, okay, 23 picks, 18 trades of those for that player. Of those 18, 5 were moves up in the second or third round. So that's Nico Collins, John Mechie, Christian Harris, Juice Scruggs, and Tank Dell. 5 really important players on this team. Okay, Mechie's importance is less than the other ones, but Nico's your starting wide receiver. Juice Scruggs is a starting offensive lineman. Tank Dell is a starting wide receiver. Christian Harris is your starting linebacker. Like, he loves to move around. And you saw it kind of last year with DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco's on board. Put the guys in a group. Let's go get the guys from the group. Their group at the top was the quarterback they drafted in Will Anderson. And they went and got both of them because they didn't see somebody that was going to be in the group at 12 that they wanted. So they went up there, they traded the picks and went and got Will Anderson. I love that. So he's going to move around. 18 of 23 picks have been acquired via trade. I say acquired. He's made trades with those picks and ultimately picked the players. Some of them are down, Kenyon Green. Some of them are up, the 5 guys we talked about on day 2. So moving around. And then I love that approach where here's a section of guys. I'm comfortable with all of them. Let me get into there so where I can pick from this group. Some of the decisions get made for me because of where I get. And then I have a section of guys that I'm going to get to. I'll say this. I'll get to live comments and I'll get to helmet comments and stuff like that after we talk about the draft, because I got a little stop and start here with a big question, and I think is a really important aspect of this draft. So I asked Caserio, I asked him, I said, when you're evaluating a player, how much that player helps you day one versus how much he helps you in, say, November versus how much he helps you in the next couple of years, how does that go into the evaluation of the player? And we're going to play a little stop and start here because he gave a 2-minute plus answer. And I think there's some really important pieces in this answer that I want to get to. So here's Caserio on answering my, kind of long-winded question, but I got a good answer out of him.
It's a good question. It's kind of a moving target. Sometimes it's circumstantial. Sometimes it's contingent upon maybe some other players that are in the building already. But everybody kind of gets the same opportunity, and you don't want to pigeonhole a player and say, well, he's not going to be ready until November. Maybe he expedites that because his performance, and he shows the confidence, and he gets the confidence and faith of his teammates and the coaches around him. So,
all right, that to me is the first big one here. Okay, that's the first big one, because if they draft a guy when he's ready, when he's earned it, they're playing him. Like, they're going to give that guy the opportunity. They're going to draft the guy, and when that guy is ready, they're going to go about giving him the opportunity to play. So I think that's one important part. Like, there's no stash and just, sit a guy. If he can play and he shows that he can play, then they're going to put him on the field. He's going to continue here.
When people walk in the building, everybody kind of has the same opportunity. I would say, just generally speaking, Cody, a lot of these players are behind just relative to their development, where they are physically. I would say for whatever reason this year, it seems like more players are further behind. And again, some of them have been advised to basically, after the combine or their workouts, basically don't do anything physically in lieu of they don't want them to get hurt or anything like that. Well, okay, you lose, call it 4 to 6 months of training, which means when you come in a building in May, you're behind physically. So maybe we think the player is going to be ready physically, but part of our assessment is to see where they are physically, do some testing, get some baseline testing. And we're not going to put the player in a position and kind of force feed it. The player's ready when he's ready.
So that to me was one of the absolute biggest things that he said. I haven't seen any general manager say this. I haven't seen any draft evaluator say this. I haven't seen any scout anonymously say this. I thought this was such an important piece, and I'm going to bring him down here. I'll bring him back up. I thought this was such an important piece of information from his assessment of the draft, that there are so many players compared to other years that are physically behind because of the way the draft process has worked. I've not seen anybody say that. I think that is one of the important aspects when you start to think about what players are available and what did they do in the course of the offseason. So I think based on the way that he talks about the physicality of some of these players, if a player was at the Senior Bowl, I think that gives them a leg up, because that means that in late January, early February, they were doing football stuff, not workouts, not running the 40, not jumping and broad jump and athletic testing crap. They were doing football stuff. Okay. So they have played football, especially if the guy played in the game. They have played football more recently than guys who didn't go to the Senior Bowl, guys who didn't practice the Senior Bowl, and guys who sat out things in the offseason. So if you worked out at the combine and you didn't do your pro day, I think that's a ding. If you didn't work out at the combine, you didn't work out at your pro day, you're physically behind, I think that's a ding. Doesn't mean a guy's undraftable. Doesn't mean you can't draft a guy. Doesn't mean that they're a better player because they were at the Senior Bowl or they worked out or they've been in the gym. They've been doing football stuff. I just think it's an element that seemed important to him in the conversation, and that jumped off the page to me. And I think the rest of his answer is pretty good too. So I'm gonna hear that.
I would say, just going back to last year's group, I mean, other than, I'd say a player like Brandon Hill might be in a situation like you kind of alluded to, where other than Brandon, everybody else made a contribution to the team last year. Brandon really didn't, because he got off to a slow start, was injured in rookie camp and in OTAs, and he really didn't have a training camp. But I'd say the work that Brandon has put into this point, he's put himself in a position where he's going to have an opportunity. So I'm excited about, his chances and what he can provide. So it's case by case. And again, it's all about how do they perform, how much progress do they make, and how much information can they absorb in a short period of time. And we're not going to, again, put a timetable on anything, kind of pigeonhole anybody. When they're ready, they're ready. Sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes it takes 2 years. But after kind of that first iteration, draft, offseason program, training camp, in-season, off-season, you should have a decent idea of the player's ability and opportunity in front of them, understanding there could be some things that derail that. So you're kind of weighing everything. There are actually probably some players in this year's draft who physically might not be ready to contribute maybe early on in the season. So maybe you're drafting them for next year. Okay, then that's a decision you have to make and say, are we comfortable with that? Do we want to try to gain the player's services, understanding maybe he's not ready? So those are all the discussions that we're going to have. I think it's a pretty astute observation. But again, every case is going to be different, and you kind of have to treat each individual player kind of differently and not really force feed anything. Hopefully that answers the question.
He did answer my question. He answered my question quite well, actually. So again, I think that it's a data point that matters to guys that stayed active, stayed aggressive, and it doesn't mean they're a better player or, a worse player. It's something that's, I think, a positive for them. Again, the Senior Bowl has grown in importance to Nick Caserio and the Texans because last year, Tank Dell, Senior Bowl. Dylan Horton, Senior Bowl. Henry To'o, Senior Bowl. Jared Patterson, Senior Bowl. Let me make sure I have the last one right. Xavier Hutchinson, Senior Bowl. Okay, so no Anderson, no Scruggs, no Stroud, no Hill. The rest of the draft class were Senior Bowl guys. I think that game mattered a lot last year to the draft process, and the way he talked about it this year, it seems to matter even more than it did. So that's my big giant nerdy only Cody thing cares about from the Caserio thing. I think that's my big one. That's my favorite one. Was this is not as physically ready of a draft class as some of the previous draft classes, and that's going to hurt some guys, and that's going to add to the evaluation of some other guys who are physically ready. So we'll get to your comments as we go through. A lot of good comments. I appreciate everybody being in there. From El Mario, I Must Panda League, John Ryan, P Nasty, good to see you. Baylor Bear, that's the first time I've seen your name in there. Obviously, Brandon, you're in here a bunch. Appreciate everybody in there. And the Super Chats go to the front of the line. Dietology, easier for rook tight end to learn blocking or a catching. Look, I think a rookie tight end is going to be on the conversation for this draft, especially late third. That's where they are. Fourth round, where they are. Rookie tight end is going to be a worthwhile investment for this team. Someone to take Brevin Jordan's job a year from now. Someone to take Tegan Quintiriano's job now. Something like that. Baylor Bear says, dude, I'm here every live. I'm sorry, I haven't seen your name before. Are you always talking? I apologize. Baylor Bear, thank you for joining every live. I appreciate that. Dietology says, just got season tickets for the first time. That's awesome too. Thank you, man. Thank you for the super chats. You're very generous. I appreciate that. And enjoy those season tickets, man. You're going to have a freaking blast this year. They got some stud teams coming to town. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Okay. Waiting patiently in the wings to chat about this Texans team. I'm going to make a note right now. Every time I ask him, every time I forget. Is it Teeman or Timon? Damn it.
It's Teeman.
Teeman, what's up, man? Fire away.
No, I'm really looking forward to the draft because I think this year is like the first time in maybe 3 seasons that we're not looking for guys who need to make an immediate impact, right? Like last year, number 2, we had to get a quarterback, either Stroud or Young, right? I mean, I didn't expect us to trade up, but Will Anderson, your instant edge 1 starter, right?
Even at 12, you expected an impact guy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I think this year is going to be more draft to develop. Like maybe we draft, let's say, maybe an edge guy with like 59, so that eventually when Danielle Hunter goes in 2 years and that edge guy will be ready to step up and fill the void, or we draft like a cornerback who will compete with Okudah and Henderson to play alongside Stingley, and he might not be ready this season, but Okudah and Henderson don't work out. Well, we've got this rookie that we developed this year, right? So I think this year, I don't know if we're going to draft many starters at day one, but I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
I find it, I don't want to say impossible. I find it highly unlikely you'll find 2 starters in the second round. There's just not a lot of opportunity to start on this team. Obviously they draft a linebacker and you want to call him a starter as the third linebacker, go for it. But starters will be hard to find because the team is talented. Now, if the right guy falls and he's a starter right away, sign me up. Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama, the cornerback, Johnny Newton. I talked to a draft guy. I got some great draft video stuff coming up. One of my favorite guys in the business. His name's Mike Lachine. He's one of the most accurate predictors of top 100 talent in the NFL draft sphere. I was talking to him. He thinks Newton might fall into the second round. If that's the case, Johnny Newton in Illinois, he would start. McKinstry would start. But most of the guys you expect to draft at 42, most of the guys you expect to draft at 59, you hope they contribute some way right away. And then maybe October, November, December, they're pushing somebody for starting opportunities.
Exactly. And it's like, I think we'll draft a receiver too with the 3rd round pick. I think we're going to, as like kind of a, as like a wide receiver 5, because we have Diggs, we have Dell, we have Collins, and then we have Noah Brown, who I think is the 4. Then I think we're going to draft someone who's going to be the 5, and then maybe develop so that if Diggs doesn't work out and Noah Brown's on a 1-year contract, we can be like, oh, well, we like this guy's tape, so we're going to give him an opportunity this year if, say, Mechie and Hutchinson don't work out. And I also think, like you said about the tight end, I think this is Brevin Jordan's last year. It's a contract year for him, right? He either puts up or shuts up, right? And so I think we do draft a tight end maybe with our first 4th round pick, and then, see if they can take over Brevin Jordan, or maybe it makes Brevin better, and then that's good for the Texans.
Look, you've got to push Tegan Quintiriano as that 3rd tight end. So I don't know who's pushing him. I don't know if it's a free agent that you sign after the draft. I don't know if it's a draft pick, but to me, that's a player that you've got to push and challenge him with either a veteran that can take his job or a young guy that, very clearly is here to take his job. There's no shame. There's no shame in taking a tight end in, say, the 4th round, and then Tegan Quintiriano showing up and playing well in training camp and keeping 4 tight ends. There's no shame in that. Will you feel like you wasted a pick? No, it's a 4th round pick. But if you see a way to like put in a tight end succession plan, like that's a fun thing to think about. Like you could put together the tight end room for the next 3 seasons. If you make the right selection in the 4th round and Quintiriano plays better, like even if he doesn't play better, okay, you got Schultz, this year's rookie, you add another guy in a loaded tight end class next year. Like you can do a lot of fun stuff with this draft. Like this is going to be a draft that I think we're looking at a polarizing draft. I think we're going to get a lot of teams build out their roster with this draft, and we look back and it's like, man, maybe there weren't a bunch of studs, but there's a lot of long-term NFL players in this draft, or it's going to be like 2013 where it was just everybody sucked. So I don't think there's really a middle in this draft. That's not how I feel very strongly that it's going to end up on one of the end of the polls. And I believe there's a lot of talent on day 2 that is going to help teams in 2024 and be staples in organizations in 2025. And maybe the Texans in 2024 is a little bit lower, and staple in 2025 is a little bit higher for the picks that they make.
Yeah, there's always talent on day 2. Like I look back to some previous drafts, like when the Texans picked Ross Blacklock, Jalen Johnson of the Bears was right there, and same with Jonathan Taylor, right? Those are 2. Like I think was Jalen Johnson an All-Pro this year?
If he wasn't, he was real close. He played his tail off this year.
Either way, he got paid a huge amount of money, and he's really good. And obviously, we know Jonathan Taylor diced us up in last
Jonathan
game
Taylor's a
was,
freak.
yeah, he's one of
Even Espinoza, the Iowa defensive end, would have been a better player than Blacklock. Like,
yeah,
a
no,
ton of different
so like,
players better than Blacklock.
yeah, and then you look at like even that one year where I think it was the I don't know if were they in the same year? It was like DK, AJ Brown, and Debo. Were they in the same? Were they the second round picks in the same year?
I know DK was a second round pick. Hold on, I'll tell you. So that's a legendary wide receiver class because
Ayuk as well was drafted, I think.
So 2019, your first round picks at wide receiver were Hollywood Brown and N'Keal Harry. Then Debo Samuel, AJ Brown, Mecole Hardman, DK Metcalf, Deontay Johnson, Scary Terry McLaurin, Hunter Renfro. Like, you had a bunch of mid-round dudes. Bunch of mid-round dudes. So I think you're going to have 2020 and 2019 slammed together. Like, I think you're going to have 5-6 dudes in the first round that are good. And then I think you're going to have 5 or 6 dudes on day 2 and the early part of day 3 that are good too. Like, there's going to be like 12 wide receivers that are productive players coming out of this class.
Yeah. And I mean, drafting is always a crapshoot, right? Like, everybody projects Caleb Williams to be good, but we have no idea if he's going to be good, right? Last year it was, Bryce Young is very pro ready and CJ Stroud might need, a year to sit behind a veteran quarterback. And CJ Stroud looked like he's been playing in the NFL for 10 seasons and Bryce Young looked like a rookie, right? So you don't know how these guys are going to react when they get into an NFL environment playing against NFL level defenses, against the best D coordinators in the league, right? Like, it's just, so to me, it's like, I hate when people say like, oh, this is a bad pick at the time when it's picked, because it's like, we have zero idea how. Like, I remember a couple years ago when the Eagles jumped us, they picked Andre Dillard, and then we picked Titus Howard. Andre Dillard's on like his 4th team now, and
got signed by the Packers today. Yeah,
and Titus Howard, re-signed with the Texans, and he's a solid right tackle, and Andre Dillard is, borderline out of the league now, right? So and I remember the Texans were heavily criticized for that. It's like, oh, the Eagles, like, they got the best tackle, and we drafted this nobody from Alabama State.
That was me. That was me.
Yeah. So it just
Cody Ford. Cody Ford's also on like his 3rd team.
Yeah, I know. So I always tell people like, hey, let these guys play, and then we'll see what they are.
My biggest thing, man, and the team, and I'm gonna let you go on this, is give yourself options. Give yourself options. Put guys on the depth chart that maybe day 1 they walk in, they don't help you, but at some point you can put them on the field. That's my big thing.
Exactly.
Team, appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, dudes. Get my name right next time.
Team.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Awesome. All right, have a good one, buddy.
You, man. Man, he dropped the get my name right next time. I will. Don't worry. I'll forget it next time and ask him the same thing I always ask him. Okay. You guys want to talk about the helmets? I saw 15 comments about it. Let's get into it. Okay. Well, it's the helmets and the new logo. So, okay. Cal McNair confirms it here. We saw the helmet guy earlier today. We saw the helmet guy earlier today. He leaked it. And then Cal McNair got on social media yet again. How can I not make this picture bigger? Oh, well. And there's the logo. I think it looks better on the gear than it does on the helmets. I think it looks better on the gear than it does on the helmets. I want like a flexi hat with that logo on there. I like the logo. I don't love the logo. I like the logo, but I don't love the logo. Okay. Again, I think it looks better on the gear than it does on the helmet. And that's fine. That's an alternate jersey and alternate helmet. Like, that's not a wear it a bunch. That's a one-off every now and then. That's a big ass dog. You were right about that, Patty. It has he's got a chain too. He's got a chain. Also, this smoker is incredible. Like, what are we What we doing over here, Cal? You got the setup, man. I like the logo. I don't love the helmet. Okay? I like the logo. I don't love the helmet. So I'm gonna pull up the helmet, the leaked helmet picture, video, whatever it is. I think it looks good. They're gonna sell 100 of those, 100 of those shirts immediately as soon as it's available. The first second, that shirt and that logo are gonna sell. Like immediately. Put that on a polo, stick it right here on people's chest. They're going to fire away. So here's the logo from somebody that leaked it up here. So that's what it looks like on the helmet. Obviously, this is not an NFL helmet. Like, I don't think this is necessarily, I'd be surprised if this is like a helmet a player would wear. This looks like a resale helmet, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? But I think it looks better on gear than it does on the helmet. It looks better on gear than it does on the helmet. All the jerseys got leaked. We got a link on that. What did I see people saying CTESPN did it? That's Antonio Brown, no? I mean, they say that's, what you're seeing on the internet, like what I'm looking at right now, that's not doing it justice. That's not doing it justice. You'll like it a lot more on Tuesday. Nope. It's not, trust me. I've seen them. It's not. It's not. You will like them a lot on Tuesday. CTESPN, not a trusted source. Fake news. Don't believe Antonio Brown. His eggs scrambled between his ears. Don't believe Antonio Brown. Tuesday's going to be fun, man. 10 a.m. Tuesday. That's when all of it goes live, social media. It's when you can buy jerseys. Then they got the big party. They got the big party on Tuesday night. I'll be there. If you're going to be there, please let me know. I'd love to come over, say hello, hang out with you, talk about stuff. Here's a fun thing about the jerseys, okay? Here's a fun thing about the jerseys. I am going to give away a new customized Texans jersey. I'm going to give away. There's been a very generous listener came up with the idea, and I'm going to give away a jersey. We're going to have a raffle. I'll tell you all about it next week. I'm just giving you the heads up. Be watching, be paying attention next week because you'll have all the info on how to win a customized jersey. Here's the twist. Here's the twist on this customized jersey. I want you to put your YouTube name on it. We're going to give it away on YouTube. It's going to be for the YouTube audience. I want you to put your YouTube name on it. So we're going to give that jersey away next week. Be some fun stuff with it. I'll get it made for you, sent here, sent out to you, all that fun stuff. So be on the lookout next week. All that information's coming out next week. So be on the lookout for that. All right? Be on the lookout for that. Some other gear we're going to give away. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff. All right? So there's going to be a lot of fun stuff next week. So we're going to be loaded up. I'm dipping into the pocket for some other gear because I think the gear's going to be fire. Like the jerseys are what the jerseys are. Not everybody wears jerseys. I don't like wearing jerseys. I think the comment that was made to me from a buddy of mine was, I like wearing jerseys, but I can't wear a jersey to work, but I can wear a polo to work. I think the polos are going to be looking sweet. I think the hats are going to look awesome. I mean, Cal already showed off one of the hats. I think a lot of the gear is going to be freaking awesome. I think a lot of the gear is going to be freaking awesome. And I am really excited for everything to pop up on Tuesday. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So I got a burp. I'm trying to get a burp out. Hold on. All right. Fire away whatever you got for the next 15 minutes. Questions, comments, joys, concerns. It's Q&A time. Whatever you want. You want to talk draft? You want to talk Caserio? You want to talk uniforms? Let it fly. I'm not going to run into Landry Locker's time tonight. He does a great job. He's at 10:30 every night. I got going a little bit late. I have 2-ish, close to 2 hours worth of draft stuff that I talked with a buddy of mine that you do not want to miss over the coming days. Like, we talked about players he's higher and lower on. We talked about players specifically for the Texans. We got deep into it, 4th round guys and stuff like that. Some fun stuff. P Nasty, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, man? Can you hear me all right?
You're great, man. Fire away.
Hey, man. So get my name right. It's Damon.
Sir, it's P Nasty. What can I do for you?
Be nasty. Hey, man. So I'm driving back from work today, and I'm listening to Nick's press conference, and I'm just kind of driving, going through traffic, and like 9 out of 10 questions, I'm just like, what is this guy asking? Like, does he even know Nick Caserio? Like, when you're in these rooms doing, and then like I was like, wow, somebody finally asked a good question, and Nick got a good response, and he's like, Cody, and I'm like, is that Cody Stoots? Like, go figure, man. It's that dude that's actually getting him to say something of substance, So hat tip for that. I wish. I don't know if you heard when I think Nick Saban was on the McAfee show or something, but he was saying like he basically got out of college because the recruits with the NIL deal and stuff like that. And it's not the same anymore. And so I'm wondering if Nick and them and the other GMs are starting to see it. Like, man, it's hard to evaluate these guys, like we don't know.
This is a weird draft for a variety of reasons. One, NIL stuff. So it hurts rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7. Not as deep as it used to be. So that's the first thing. The other thing that's weird, you have old guys in this draft compared to previous years because of the extra years, because of the COVID years. So, I mean, Braden Fisk, we talk about him here, the Florida State defensive tackle. He'll be 25 this year. Like, there are guys that are coming in that are 21 and going to be 22. Like, that's a 3-year difference. Like Ray Davis, I like him as a running back prospect. He'll be 25 this year. A 25-year-old running back is 1 foot in the grave to a lot of people. Like, that's a big element here. So you've got NIL keeping guys in school for another year, so it hurts the backgrounds. You've got this is like the first drastically affected draft for COVID year guys, because these guys are wrapping up their eligibility and they're coming into the draft. And you got what Caserio talked about today, which is something new that I haven't heard anybody talk about, is some of these guys just aren't working out ahead of the draft and ahead of getting drafted. So you got guys coming in soft, doughy, and out of shape.
Yeah, it's nuts. I wonder, I'd like to ask Nick if it was, is it easier or harder because you hit last year? Like last year you hit, you did great. Hat tip, good job. But like, we don't really have a bunch of needs. And I know a lot of the listeners and followers are telling us we need this. But I like when he said like, hey, if we had to field a game today, like we could probably compete, we got enough depth on the roster to actually put some starters out there. So I wonder, is it easier or is it harder than when you don't have all this draft capital? But, in one sense, it could be easier because you could be hyper selective on who you pick. Like high character guys, we'll see what happens. But like now these picks are far more precious. We'll probably never have a top 10 pick, hopefully, fingers crossed, in a while. So, like I wonder if it's harder for him or if it's easier for him. And, it's just like, hey, Nick, like it's hard to get to the top. We're not at the top, but anybody knows like it's harder to stay there too. So like, I wonder if we're thinking, 3-4 steps down the road.
I think that's a question that is not going to get answered if you ask him publicly. And I think add on to that, even if you asked him privately around the draft, I think he'd be hesitant to answer it. If I get a shot at like training camp to talk to him about that, I think that'd be a great question. Like, hey, draft wise, evaluation wise, so on and so forth. Like, what'd you think? How'd you do? I think that'd be a really good one. That's a good question.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. It's been a great offseason. We're getting closer to it, man. Keep crushing it, man.
Thank you.
When you're in those press conferences, man, like you belong there, man. You deserve to be there. Those guys, I don't know why they're trying to get like gotcha questions out of Nick, like, oh, Stefon Diggs, he's a diva, right? Gotcha. Like, man, just shut up, man, and ask the questions, man. Like,
I appreciate
let's go.
It. Thank you. P Nasty, appreciate it.
See you guys.
Get your name right next time. Brandon, I see you there. I'll get to you in just a second. I want to fire through some of these questions that people are getting in here because I want to get to the comment section. And again, if you got a super chat, you go to the top of the comment section. So firing through these, starting with, where did he go? Nick Connor. How do you feel about Petrie going into this season? He's got to bounce back, and his starting position is not guaranteed by any means. He's got to play better than he did last year. They need him to play better, especially if they don't or aren't able to draft a safety. Sean G, is it possible that the helmet looks better than it does in the video versus initial look at the jerseys? I think the helmet looks better with the jersey is the way I would say it. Having seen them, I think the helmet looks better with the jersey. Deedology, will you be there, Stoots? I think he's asked about Tuesday, the draft part or the uniform party. I will be there. I will be there Tuesday. Big Al Cervantes. Cody, I don't wear jerseys as well. I'd rather have a professional dry fit Texans shirt. We'll give some gear away for anybody and everybody. We'll give some gear away for anybody and everybody. El Mario is shipping to Mexico available. Let me see what I can do. Easier to get to Mexico than, I sent some stuff to Europe a couple times. Caserio is a bit more of a hardo than usual today. I think he's dialed in. I think he's tired of draft prep. A couple of players in the draft you would avoid. I don't like Edgerrin Cooper for the Texans. I understand he's a good player. I just don't like him for the Texans. I'm souring on Xavier Legette. I just don't know that he fits for the Texans. I think he fits better for somebody else. I'd avoid Sweat in the first 3 rounds. I'd run the card up there in the 4th round. And I would, this isn't for the Texans, but I think J.J. McCarthy stinks. And whoever drafts him is setting the franchise back. Corey says, concerned about OT depth like Rogergarten. OT depth is something that has to get addressed. It very much has to get addressed. They visited with him at some point. I think it was a visit, projected 3rd rounder, worth taking a swing there. If he was there and you didn't like some of the other players. Any chance Amy Adams goes full on Karen? From my understanding, some of the process was affected by her complaints, from what I understand. Who's your favorite player in this draft? Quinyon Mitchell, the cornerback from Toledo. If we're going specifically to can the Texans get this player, they can't get Quinyon Mitchell. He'll be gone, way gone. Specific to can the Texans get him? Probably Tyler Nubin, the safety from Minnesota. Are you going to take the OG's job? No. Just because I was on Sports Radio 610 doesn't mean I'm going to take the OG's job. Adding to your regularly scheduled program, though, I'll be on Fox 26 tomorrow night, and I believe a little bit on Saturday. So be on the lookout for that, hanging out with my guy, Will Kunkel. He does a great job over there. So be on Fox 26. What's the over-under on the amount of trades Nick makes, and does the Minnesota trade count? I'll say over under 4.5. I'll take the over, and I won't count the Minnesota trade. How are we going to pick up 2 more picks in the 2nd round? I don't know. Did I mistakenly say that at some point? I could see them moving out of that second round pick for third round compensation this year, or fourth round compensation this year and third round compensation next year. Oh yeah, I need to get the stickers reprinted. I need to work on that. I need to get that done. Nick and Cody on a first name basis now. I just think he knows who I am now. I think I've been in enough stuff. He's like, hey, there's that fat guy that said everything. I think he just knows who I am. Let's talk about Matt Stevens' career. Let's not, Derek. I mean, you and I are arguing over something so specific and silly to the history of the Houston Texans today. I swear he played at cornerback at one game or something. I didn't realize Fisk was 25. Changed my mind. Give me Jenkins. Jenkins is too small. Oh, H-Town TD 2000. I'm sorry I didn't see this. You demand, rate your personal level of excitement about the draft and upcoming season. I mean, it's as excited as I've been in a long, long time for this team. I was really excited from last year because I thought Will and CJ were one of the most exciting things, and obviously what D'Amico brought to the table. I thought that was a super exciting element and aspect of it. My excitement will be higher this year. And for this draft, like I love the draft. So I'm always excited for the draft. Like I would tell you almost every year I'm on a 10 for the draft. Like I want to, a year from now, I want to do draft stuff that's specifically not the Texans, in addition to the Texans draft stuff that I do. I am excited about the draft every year. It's one of my favorite things. H-Town TD 2000. Thank you so much. I appreciate the super chat. Will Dylan Horton be back for 2024? Is he in the offseason program? We haven't seen anything on the offseason program yet. I do not know what his status is. I do know that he's headed in the right direction. And I hope he is a factor in 2024, just because that means things went really well in his recovery. The Texans' usual theme song, especially for the defensive Bulls on Parade by Rage Against the Machine. Can we switch that up a little bit for something vibe, a little bit better? Maybe Travis Scott or another Texas artist. Shoot, man, get Mexican OT and his crew and Big X the Plug. Get them to make something. It's a miracle that I did not mess those guys' names up, by the way. I don't know anything about rap music. I was asking Figgy Fig today about who's winning the Drake rap battle, and he had to explain to me what was going on. Are you worried the alt helmet looks too similar to the Titans with the Navy? I don't think it looks like the Titans at all. I don't think it looks like the Titans helmet at all. So, I'm not worried about that. How did you feel about us getting Jatavian Sanders or Jonathan Brooks? I don't know that Brooks can help you in 2024. I'm okay with Sanders if he's there to replace Brevin Jordan. If he's there to replace Ting Quintiriano, then they will literally never block anybody with the tight ends. Baylor Bear 03, longtime viewer, always in the lives. Appreciate him. Cornerback, safety, and DT need to be the first three picks. Don't care the order. I think you'll find there's some day 3 defensive tackles that could be interesting. If you think about it, we don't have a short yardage goal line DT. The answer, not Autry, Foley on first 2 downs. Yeah, I could think. I mean, I welcome a fellow fat guy to town. So Sweat in the 4th round, sign me up. You think they might trade Davis Mills during draft day? No, but I think right after the draft, there's a chance that he gets traded if somebody didn't get the quarterback they want. But I might hang on to him until somebody needs him, like training camp. She's surprised that I knew a couple of rappers. I was surprised I remember their names too. Okay. All right. Let's do some housekeeping. Next week, info on the jersey giveaway. Don't miss out on that. It'll be in the description. I'll talk about it on the videos. Okay. If you're going to the uniform reveal next week, I will see you there. Make sure you reach out, get in touch with me. I want to come say hello. Thursday and Friday next week, live here on YouTube. Myself, Landry Locker, will be live for the first 2 days of the draft. Okay? Live, right here on YouTube. We'll watch the draft with you. I'm trying to figure out exactly how to listen to him and also listen to the draft and all this great stuff. We will have so much fun talking about the first 2 days of the draft. First day going to be, a lot less Texans. Day 2 is going to be incredible. It's going to be so much fun. So Thursday, Friday, next week in YouTube live, myself and Landry Locker breaking down the draft. Also next week, Saturday, Daley Sports Club, 922 Holman Street here in Houston. Come out, hang out, watch rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7 with myself, Landry Locker, Figgy Fig, all our friends, and you. Get out there. It's going to be so much fun. We'll talk about rounds 1, 2, and 3. We'll watch 4, 5, 6, and 7. It's going to be awesome and so much fun. So, Daley Sports Club, a week from Saturday. So much fun stuff. It's one of my favorite times of the year. And I'm so excited for all the great stuff we got coming on. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I know we kind of sped through this thing. We usually spend some more time. I don't want to be rude to Landry. He's getting started on YouTube. In the section right here, in the comment section, go watch Landry. Pop over there, get in his chat. Tell him Cody Stoots sent you. He loves that. Get started over there with Landry. We finish the live streams each and every time the same way. This is my hope for you. This is my charge for you as well. I want you to eat good. I want you to sleep good. I want you to be good. And I can't wait till we talk Texans again soon. Thank you, everybody. This has been a blast. This has been fun. Tell your friends, happy draft season, and we will talk again soon. Go say hello to Landry. I'll pop in there in the chat as well. Let's have some fun.